Good morning. Today I want to talk about a poet, about a poem, about an anniversary, about a country, and about humanity, about some people. Yes, last year in Israel, yes, 120th anniversary was celebrated of a poet, and his poem was translated from Russian into Hebrew. And the translation translated by Amnon Genzai Ginsburg. And that incident took place in Israel, and that was reported in one of their oldest and famous Hebrew newspaper called Haaretz. And the article titled "To Revive the Sacred Temple Mosey Stones," and that was dedicated to the life and work of national poet of Tashkent, Uzbekistan. Yes, that incident was dedicated and everything was dedicated, and his poem was translated from Russian into Hebrew. And the name of the poet is Ghafur Ghulam, who was born on May 10th, 1903 in Tashkent in a very peasant, poor family. His father was well educated. He himself was very well educated. He went to college, school, university. And he has written so many poems. And one of his famous poems, which I'm going to talk about, is I'm a Jew. Yes, this was the poem I'm a Jew, which was translated from Russian into Hebrew. And still, it is a part of Israelis and so many other countries, and even in Uzbekistan, they are part of the museum. He was a well-known figure. He was not an ordinary figure. And while Nazism and fascism was prevailing and most of Jews were being kicked out of their house, kicked out of their homeland, and being prosecuted. They were sent to gas chambers. They were being killed. And this whole chain of event is called Holocaust. And all this oppression was taking place under the umbrella of Hitler and Nazism. This guy, Ghafur Ghulam, mobilized his poetry and to fight against Nazism and fascism, and he wrote the poem I'm a Jew, and that poem was written in that spirit. And this is one of the masterpieces of Ghafur Ghulam, and that offers a perspective of universal themes of humanity, suffering, and identity. It is not just about being Jewish. It is a symbolic representation of anyone who was going through tough time, who was being oppressed, who was being marginalized, who was being misunderstood. This poem uses the identity of a Jew to speak about broader human perspective, human experience, emotion, and that connect with many people regardless of their color of skin, their background, their religion, on where they are. So during the war, Ghafur Ghulam wrote so many other poems. This was not the only poem. He was a humanitarian. He wrote a poem called You Are Not an Orphan. And one of his masterpieces, which I love the most, I Am Waiting for You, My Son. I would say that everyone should read that poem. The dialogue, the delivery of words, and the message was beautiful. And there was another poem, Time, Observation, Woman, There Will Be a Holiday on Our Street. These were the few of the poems which I just mentioned. Otherwise, he has written so many poems. So during the war, Ghulam wrote such poems, You Are an Orphan. That tells us what he was thinking at that time. The children, at that time, Hitler, he was killing adult people, and the children were getting orphaned. And now, in Israel, children are being killed. Children are being prosecuted and I don't find any word for that one. And the poem which Ghulam wrote at that time, I'm a Jew, he explores the themes of identity, persecution, and empathy. In this poem, he reflects on the shared suffering and common humanity and like the ethnic religious identities he was talking about it. Throughout the poem, he addresses the universal experience of oppression and draws parallel between the suffering and different groups throughout history, including Jew, emphasizing solidarity and standing among all who faces discrimination and persecution. The theme centers around the idea that anyone can relate to the suffering of another regardless of their own background, regardless of their own identity or religion. This message encourages empathy and understanding among the diverse groups, advocating a broader perspective on human rights and dignity. The poem uses example of not being a Jew to assert that one does not need to be part of a specific group to understand their pain or stand against their position. So, right now, I'm looking for a Jew. I'm in a search of a single Jew who could say, I'm Ghafur Ghulam and I'm a Muslim. Not Muslim as a belief, not Muslim that you become a Muslim. If you want to become a Muslim, I invite everyone, every person to become Muslim. But I'm talking about in a figure of speech right here, that he could say that I'm a Muslim. I'm standing with the children of Gaza. Ghafur Ghulam wrote a poem at that time when the whole world was against Jew people, and he stood over there. He mobilized his poetry, and still you are celebrating his birthday. So now I stand up for Muslim, the children of Gaza, women of Gaza, women and teens of Gaza. I'm standing with them. Ghafur stood against Hitler. I'm standing against Zionism. And I want this to stop all at once. Enough is enough. Now there should be ceasefire. These children, these women, these adults, those who are innocent have right to live. They are part of this world. They are part of humanity. They are part of our community, regardless of what happened. Now enough is enough, and this should be stopped. I'm looking for a Jew who could say, I'm Ghafur Ghulam and I'm writing a poem. I'm a Muslim. I'm a Jew, but I'm a Muslim. Is there anyone? Thank you.